Hello, my name is Bob Rust. I'm with Rust Law, LLC. We're a small firm. We are lean, we're quick, and we're competitive. If I say so myself, in the persons of myself and attorneys Alicia Amelie and Pamela Zetterberg and paralegal Kathy Hyman. Among the areas that we focus on, including estate work, which is wills, trusts, and the like, and estate administration and land use law, getting approvals from municipalities for the use of land, is work with business owners. And we work with owners of mature, sound businesses, but who always will have need for advice from legal counsel, needs for new contracts and the like. But we do a great deal of work also in business formation. And one of the questions we get quite routinely is, what kind of entity should I consider if I'm starting a business? Should I stay as a sole proprietor for the time being, just myself? Should I consider forming a corporation? If so, what kind? Should I consider some form of partnership? My answer normally is, first, before you look to a legal entity like a corporation to protect yourself and your assets, the first place you want to go is with a business property and casualty insurance professional who knows what he or she is doing, who can particularly talk to you about business liability and as it relates to the specific nature of your business, and give you advice as to the type of coverage, the level of coverage, whether you should have an umbrella policy on top of that. That individual is the first individual you should talk to, because that's your first line of defense against a third-party claim against you. Now, you do assume some risk, because if the claim is a significant one, a good plaintiff's attorney will find out what the levels of coverage are and do his or her best to file for damages in excess of the level of coverage, and if successful, therefore being able to go after your personal assets. This said, if you're just starting and your business is relatively benign, it's not in a high-risk area, then it very well may be prudent just to assume the risk until you find out whether the business is going to succeed. And if it does, and it really starts to grow, and maybe you have employees, but you clearly have more clients and you have more exposure, then you ought to come back and visit what type of corporation you may want to have, or for that matter, even a form of limited partnership under the current laws. Well, let's look at corporations. Which kinds are they? Well, the ones that you think about in terms of a General Motors or their products, for example, they're C corporations. They're the classic corporations. They have shareholders. They can be both public and private, but normally public. They have a board of directors that has governing powers that could include even removal of a chief executive officer or other senior executives. There is place for a C corporation in privately held corporations of significant size, particularly if they're potentially going to go public at some point in the future. But if there are other reasons too, because the C corporation offers the maximum or optimum protection for the shareholders and the owners from lawsuits that would against the corporation that could also come at them personally. They're shielded. It will not happen unless they're guilty of a crime, fraud, and the like. But that normally is that's not something for a startup, clearly, because you need to be of a greater size. The same is normally true of an S corporation. Now, it's different. Now, the C corporation, I failed to mention, it pays taxes. It pays corporate taxes. Pennsylvania's corporate tax rate is among the highest in the country. And then if it declares a dividend to its shareholders, the shareholders also pay taxes, ordinary income taxes, on that dividend. Whereby if you have an S corp, After all expenses are deducted and you have a net profit that's left, it's passed through to the shareholders to be declared in their own individual tax returns, to be taxed at their own individual tax rates. Moreover, an S corporation has other tax benefits that are akin to a C corporation, but not as extensive. Another option, and a very popular one for most people because of ease of formation, less restrictions, is what's called a limited liability corporation. There, the owners are not called shareholders, they're called members. They don't have a shareholders agreement, they have what's called an operating agreement, which governs the governance of the limited liability corporation. It can be formed quickly. It's a $125 filing fee in Harrisburg, and voila, there you are, you're incorporated. Well, is that all you need to do? Most assuredly, that's not all you need to do, because if you have a major claim against you, a good plaintiff's attorney is going to say, aha, this individual, yeah, he's incorporated, but he's acting like, or she is, like a sole proprietor. Does not have an operating agreement, or if he or she does, not abiding by it, not holding corporate meetings and having a corporate record. Now, mind you, in Pennsylvania, that's not required by law, that members must have a meeting and have a corporate record. But if we're going to advise a startup, we're going to say, do it. Because in the event of a major claim against you, now if you have an operating agreement, you indeed are following it as the instrument for governing your corporation, and you're recording the actions of the corporation into a corporate record, you've got the ultimate protection against a third-party claim. They can claim the assets of the corporation, but they can't come after your personal assets. Much can be said the same of what's called a limited liability partnership, and that is not used that frequently, but it is there. And again, it offers limited liability. That is, the claimant can't get at the partner's personal assets so long as that limited liability partnership is operating properly as such. You'll see some law firms and professional organizations that will use that particular entity for sure. Those are the types of things that a startup owner, male or female, is going to need to consider. And if you are considering doing that or know someone that is, and they need somebody to speak to in that regard, I invite them to call us at 610-821-0484. Let me repeat that, 610-821-0484. Kathy Heilman will answer. She will put you immediately in touch with either myself or attorneys Amelia or Zetterberg. I thank you and wish you well.